Well, hey everybody, it's Robin Baumgartner, Programs Coordinator with University of Idaho Extension 4-H once again. Today we're going to be walking through our 4-H STEM Mars Base Camp Challenge Landing Zone Surveyor activity. So what you're going to need from the kit, you're going to need your six-sided die, you're going to need your paratroopers, the pack of sticky notes, the Mars map, which is the large vinyl map, the landing zone cards, and you can tell that they're those cards because they have the little letter number designation in the corner. And then I'm also recommending that you have pens or pencils available for your landing markers, and also a roll of painter's tape to tape down the mat and tape out the throw line. So I'm going to get everything set up and then we'll do the activity. Okay, so you can see we've got everything set up. We've got our mat taped down here, especially important if it's a little windy out like it is here today. And then we've got our throw line taped out about 4 feet away. So let's do some test throws and see if we can land some people on Mars. Might be wondering why I decided to do this activity outdoors. And there's a couple reasons. One is that, we're coming up on fall. Nice days are getting harder to come by. So one of the landing options when you roll the die in our activity has to do with Martian winds. And that might be a great jumping off point for discussion with your students. How do we know there's wind on Mars? Are there features on the planet's surface that lead us to believe there are winds? How do we compensate for those winds mathematically when we send a lander up to Mars or to any other celestial body? So those are some interesting things you might want to discuss with your students. Some other activities I thought might be fun would be for each student or each team of students to design actually a little flag to plant on the Mars surface when they land and land successfully. And you could discuss how, that's one of the things that our Apollo astronauts did when they went to the moon, was they took some US flags up to plant and to show that we'd actually been there. Some other things to discuss. So, when they do successfully get a card, they're supposed to read it out loud. So I successfully landed on C4, which is the Meridiani Plenum. And it talks about how the Opportunity rover landed here in 2004, and that it traveled more than 28 miles from Eagle Crater to Endeavour Crater. So the things about this activity is that it is fairly text heavy, especially when you get into reading the cards and discussing them. And we actually, as 4-H down here, had an opportunity to do this activity with some younger, like 1st through 3rd graders. And to facilitate that, we tried it a couple different ways. We tried first and foremost, kind of dividing up the team so there was kind of, one on each end of the age range and then some in the middle on each team. But another thing we did was we did make some modified landing cards for that particular run through of the activity. So if you'd like to try it, if you've got some younger ones, you could definitely mix up the cards, maybe use the simpler ones for the younger kids and the ones included in the kit for the older ones. That would be great. They're just kind of, simplified versions. Like, you landed in orbit. If you were a satellite in orbit of Mars, what would you name your satellite? And maybe, what are some ways we use satellites to learn about other planets? So, again, they're thought-provoking questions, and they're designed for discussion and exploration, but they're just on a little bit simpler level and less hard things to pronounce than Meridiani Planum. So that's always helpful as well for the younger set. So all in all, as you can see, this is really a fairly straightforward activity, fairly simple to do, very little setup to handle on your end, other than, again, going through the materials. It's very well laid out in the book. So this one was very easy to do, but it does leave a ton of options for further exploration, further study, jumping off points to go into different directions. Some questions I was thinking about as I was doing the activity and reading the materials were things like, how do we know what the chemical compositions of different planets are, especially those we haven't landed on yet? And that's something that we could research. How many landers have been sent to Mars? How many satellites are circling Mars right now? These are all kind of neat questions to think about. I also, as I was preparing for this lesson, there was a really cool news story about how there may actually still be some liquid water on Mars underneath those ice caps, and how that liquid water is most likely very, very high salinity, high salt water to stay liquid underneath all those layers of ice and dry ice, but that does open up the possibility for some form of microscopic high salinity life. So again, that whole life on Mars thing is possible. So yeah, just have fun with this one. I really hope you enjoy doing the activity with your youth and learning more and exploring more. And we'll see you next week with our next activity. So until then, take care. We'll see you at the sharing session Friday.